Welcome to Book Chat Live. Join us on Spreaker and comment during the podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Tamara from shelfaddiction.com and welcome to Book Chat Live. I bet you're wondering, why is she live this evening? There's no author present. Well, to be quite frank, I did not pre-record my episode for today, so I thought, let's have a total chill, laid-back conversation, and I thought it would be fun to do it live. So, welcome to episode 20, and we are going to be talking about a few topics, of which one is how to find what to read next. A lot of us book nerds always ask that question, what do we read next when we're done with our series or whatever book that we're into at the time? And there are some really cool websites and ways to figure that out. If you are listening live, please feel free to type in any suggestions or recommendations in the chat box, and I'll be happy to talk about it with you. All right, so let's start with some some different ways, websites or platforms where you can find book recommendations. So the first one that I really like is Goodreads. And most book nerds, most book nerds know about Goodreads. And if you don't, you need to know about it now. So it's goodreads.com. It is an Amazon company now. And as you start to load your books onto your shelves, books that you've read, books that you've rated, books that you want to read, the algorithm will pick up and start giving you recommendations for books that you may like. So I really do enjoy Goodreads. It's a great place to talk with other bookish people, join groups and clubs that are focused on reading, like book clubs. And, there's a Shelf Addiction online book club on Goodreads. I have to mention that. And it's a lot of good fun. So, you can drool over cover art, load 1 million books onto your to be read shelves, all that good stuff. So definitely check out that one. In conjunction with Goodreads is Amazon.com. And, that's kind of obvious. If you own a Kindle or if you just buy a lot on Amazon, or even if you don't necessarily buy on Amazon but browse on Amazon, like let's say you look up a specific book, usually there will be a little, recommendations at the bottom where it will say customers who bought this item also bought XYZ, and it will be a row of things. And this is a great way to just kind of scope out some books that people who are reading what you're reading, what they're buying. So that's a great source as well. So let's see. I think there is, Barnes & Noble. That's another great option. It works in a similar way to Amazon as far as how it functions. But I don't know. I feel like it's not as many books available that show up in the recommendations. But, nonetheless, if you're a Barnes & Noble buyer and you like Barnes & Noble, then this will be a good option for you. Now, I know that there are a few other sites that I have not necessarily used, but I know, for example, if you buy books from the Google Play Store, I believe that also will give you some recommendations. And if you're not into apps, I believe that there are several good websites out there, but I haven't used them. For example, one is Bookish. And I did look at the website earlier today, and it's definitely a pretty website. There's lists and summaries and reviews, and you can buy through that website if you want. I don't think that it's as robust as Goodreads, but it definitely is cool to use. Another one that I heard of was the Sony Reader Store. Now, I don't have a Sony e-reader. I haven't really looked at the store, but I heard that it uses essentially the same type of thing, where if you click on one book, it says, I don't know, other recommendations based on what you've listened to. And, they also have another site that's actually called What Should I Read Next? And I do like that you don't have to create an account to use it. That's kind of cool. You just type in a book that you like, and it gives you a list of similar books. So that's actually very cool. So if you want a very quick recommendation without having to log in and, scroll through different things, then that would be a good choice to use. So yeah, amongst, those are some pretty good suggestions, I feel like. And if you've used any of those, or if you have a source that, I didn't mention, please do share with me. I'd love to kind of find more places to find out about good books as well. And of course, you can always ask me if you want a recommendation. I don't claim to know every book that's out there, but if you're definitely liking the paranormal genre, then I think that I could recommend some good books for you. So, if you want to reach out to me, do that on Twitter at Shelf Addiction, or go to shelfaddiction.com and leave me a voicemail. Let me know what you've been reading, and I'll try to find something that I think you'll like. Now, I'm going to switch gears a little bit because this past weekend I went to a book con. I was a featured blogger on this book con. If you've been following my podcast or my blog, then you know that was Rust City Book Con. It was the first Rust City locally here in Michigan. And it was a fun time. I got to meet some of the authors I interviewed, and I got to meet some readers, and I got to meet authors that I didn't interview, and I got to meet some writers that were in the panels, not on the panels, but they attended, I guess, to kind of gather information for their writing process and things like that. So it was very cool to meet, so many different types of bookish people. It was a good time. Now, one thing that I did find extremely hilarious, or not necessarily hilarious, but it was interesting. During one of the panels that I was moderating, it somehow came up, how many books an average person reads per year. So one person in the audience said they read, a couple hundred books per year. And, we kind of said, well, what about the average person? What do you think the average person reads? And she said, 100 books at least. And I had to beg to differ there. I felt that, the average person probably reads about, 12, if they're on a good year. You know what I mean? If they're lucky, it's 12. And that was my point of view. And of course, said reader or writer, I'm not sure which she was, definitely wanted to take me to task on that. She definitely disagreed and made that very clear. And then in another panel later, she asked another avid reader how many books they read. And of course, they said a high number because they too are an avid reader. But again, we were talking about average readers. So what did I do, you guys? If you know me even a little bit, I Googled it. Yes, I did. I came home and I said, let me find out, because maybe I am wrong. Maybe people read a lot more than I think they do. And, again, I'm not talking about book lovers or, bibliophiles or, anything in that arena. We're talking about your average person. Maybe not someone that joins book clubs, or maybe they are. Maybe not someone who has, a million books on their shelves like I do, and, like many of my fellow book nerds do. But, your average person. So, as of January 2014, I found on pewinternet.org, they did a study, and as of January 2014, which isn't very long ago, 76 of American adults age 18 and older said that they read at least one book. Let me restate that. They said that they've read at least one book in the past year. Almost 7 in 10 adults, 69%, read a book in print in the last 12 have read a book in print in the last 12 months, while 28% read an ebook and 14% listened to an audiobook. Okay. So let's break that down, right? Okay, and I found some more places to support this. If you're curious, I will have these links in the show notes so you can check them out for yourself. But let's break that down. So if we're talking 76% of adults say they have read at least one book in the past year. You know, my average was 12, and that seems high compared to this. I don't know about 100 books for an average person. It seems kind of high. Of that, those people that they pooled, 69% were male, 69 males, 82 women. And of the age groups, 79, 18 to 29, 75, 30 to 49, and then 77, 50 to 64. I hope I'm reading these numbers right. But basically, this was exactly what I thought I would find, really. It didn't surprise me at all. What do you guys think? Do you think that it is abnormal for someone to read so few books? Do you think this is off? Do you think that they read a lot more? I would love to have a discussion on this. I also found an article by Jordan Weisman. It was called The Decline of the American Book Lover. And this was also written in 2014. And he also sourced the same Pew Research Center report. But the number of non-book readers has nearly tripled since 1978. You know, again, that doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm curious if it surprises you. Like 2014, it has a little graph on here. It says, how many books did Americans read in the last year? And this goes from 2014 to 1978 on the graph. So there's three groups, 78, 90, and 14. So let's look at this. So how many books did Americans read in 2014? 23% said none. 23% said none. Okay. 1 to 5. 31% said 1 to 5. 6 to 10 books. 17% said they read 6 to 10 books in 2014. And 11 or more, 28%. 28. So that's not very high, I gotta say. And dare I say, if you were to say, how many of you read over 50 books, I bet that percentage would drop to less than half of 28%. I bet you. And I'm almost sure it's gotten worse as time has gone on. You know, it's sad. And I love reading, and reading is my escape. And I think everyone should read. You know, turn off the TV sometimes, turn off electronics, and read a book. Unless you're reading on the Kindle, of course. Not to get all preachy, because you guys know I love TV. You know I love movies. I watch them both. But I always make time for reading. Always. And I can't express that enough. Like, it starts young, too. Because, let me tell you a little story. I remember reading, like, my mother is a grade school teacher. Or she was before she retired. And I remember going to the library and just bringing home tons of books. And I remember doing this as far back as kindergarten. Go to the library, bring home a ton of books, read them all, and take them back. And do this over and over and over again. And then when I got to middle school, I remembered that I started reading my cousin's books. You know, I was young, reading books that I probably shouldn't have been reading. But nonetheless, I was enjoying myself. And this trend continued, you know, 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, reading books that are probably, you know, way beyond, you know, what I should be reading. But regardless, I had a great time with it. And over time, I started to realize, I like certain types of books. And then before you knew it, I was reviewing books on my own, not on an assignment, just because I felt like keeping track of all the books that I read. And I do credit that to my mom. She had us in the library reading books at a really young age. And that's a good thing. And I don't know if I would have taken to reading like I did without as naturally as I did without that early development, that early expectation that reading is what you're supposed to do. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's an activity. So yeah, anyway, I said all that to say, when it's all said and done, I was right. No, I know that's petty. I'm kidding, you guys, really. But it was interesting to look because, I always like to know, if I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, why, and what's up with that. So yeah, it was fun stuff to do a little bit of that research. And again, I will have all of that information below. And yeah, that's it. So what else do I have to talk about today? Maybe I'll give you some blog updates.
It's time for the blog rundown. Find out what's new on shelfaddiction.com.
All right, guys, what's up on shelfaddiction.com? I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the podcast, but I want you to leave me a voicemail. Yes, leave me a voicemail. You don't have to call a number. You don't have to do anything, but go to shelfaddiction.com and click the voicemail button on the side of the homepage. And why do I want you to leave me a voicemail? Because I am collecting data. I want to know what book recommendations you have. Every month, I'm going to go with a different genre, and I would love to hear what you have to say, what book you recommend for your reading buddies. And actually, this is perfect because it feeds into the title. At the end of the month, I am going to gather all of the, voicemails and emails and data that I've, collected from you all and talk about on a podcast episode what book recommendations have been presented for said genre. This month's genre is mystery suspense. So if you have a mystery book or a suspense book that you really enjoy and you think that others would enjoy, go to my blog, hit that voicemail button, and you have 90 seconds, I believe, to leave your name, your location, your blog if you're a blogger, your company if you like, mention you're an author or whatever you'd like, along with the title and the author, and a one-liner as to why you recommend it. I would really appreciate that. I haven't gotten many yet, but I have hope. I have hope that you guys are going to look out for me and will help me out. So leave me a voicemail. Let me know what book you like in that genre. I'm not sure what genre I'm going to do for the month of October yet, or September. I'm like jumping ahead a whole month. But I think it'd be something cool. I know October I probably will do horror or something like that, but I'm not sure for September. So anyway, leave me something mystery or suspense driven now. I would love to hear that. What else is going on the blog? Not too much. I'm rearranging a few things, so I think you should check it out, see if you like the layout. If not, I don't know, feel free to comment as well. I'm open to that. It's all good. So let's see, what else do I have on the agenda for today? Not too much, really. I guess I'll talk a little bit about what I'm reading right now. I always do this with the authors, and I thought it might be fun to share with you guys what I'm reading, in case you don't follow me on social media, but you should, because, I'm always reading good stuff. Right now, I am all about the Jennifer Armentrout series. I think it's a trilogy, actually, and it's all about gargoyles, angels, and demons. And then that is called the Dark Elements trilogy. It's 3 books and a prequel. So far, I've read the prequel, I've read book 1, and I'm currently on book 2, which is called Stone Cold Touch. It's really cute. It's kind of like YA/NA, which is young adult and new adult. It's kind of like in between because our heroine is almost 18, but she's still in high school. And some of the other guys are 18, and I think one is 23-ish or something like that. But regardless, it's a very good. If you like fantasy, if you like a little romance thrown in with it, and you like drama, then The Dark Elements is for you. I'm really enjoying it. We'll see how things shake out when I get to the end of the trilogy. I plan on doing a all-in-one book review on my YouTube channel, so definitely subscribe because I know you don't want to miss that. Also, I decided to try out a graphic novel. Yeah. I'm not really one to be into graphic novels. I've never really read one. I kind of think comic books are a fun idea, but I've never really been one to gravitate toward it. So one of my real world book clubs is reading The Sandman, volume 1 and 2. That is by Neil Gaiman. I am still mid volume 1, and book club is tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. And I have not finished volume 1. We'll see. I mean, so far, I think the story is interesting enough. The pictures are kind of cool to look at, but I don't think it's really stuck all the way, if you know what I mean. So that's interesting enough. So if you guys have read The Sandman and you like it, I would love to know about that. Like, what did you like about it? Did you like it and you only read graphic novels or never read graphic novels? I would love to hear like your point of view on that and like where your history is as far as reading, because I read somewhere that people suggest that while this book is awesome, it's really not for the first time comic book reader, which is what I am. So I'm curious to see your take on that. And lastly, I'm listening to an audiobook. You know, I always have to have an audiobook. So I am listening to Glass Sword, which is the second book in the Red Queen. I think it's a trilogy by Victoria Aveyard. Now, oh goodness, I don't want to really review it right now. I'm about 60% through, and it's all right. I'm not loving it. You know, it's a dystopia-ish fantasy title, and it's definitely young adults. So if you're into that, definitely check it out. The first time around, I listened to it on audio and read Red Queen at the same time, and I did enjoy it, but I'm just not having the warm and fuzzies about Glass Sword that I did about Red Queen. So I don't know if you guys are reading that or have read that, and you think that was a good book. I don't know. I'd like to hear what you have to say, as always. So yeah, that's that on that. And yeah, so I guess we can wrap things up. No sense in yammering about and talking your ear off. So thank you so much for listening. If you are live, please go ahead and like this podcast so I know that you're out there. I would really appreciate that. And in the meantime, go ahead and hit that follow button on Spreaker.com, the only place where you can listen live, or subscribe and listen later in the iTunes store or in the Google Play Music Store. That's it for today, and until next time, happy reading. Bye, guys.